What's new in ArcGIS Pro 2.2? With this release, we've added existing features from ArcMap, ArcCatalog, ArcGlobe, and ArcScene. For exploring content, we've added map tips, the rectangle zoom tool, the ability to pause map drawing, and the ability to select a layer's visible features. Choose between the value and description for domains and subtypes in a table view, scroll large tables with better feedback, and choose the format when pulling an XY location from the map, and use the Go to XY to navigate to important locations. We've also updated the pop-up pane so it identifies multiple features, has a navigation tree view list, and shows feature coordinates so you can copy to your clipboard using the map's formatting. You can now drag and drop layer files, shape files, and KML from Windows Explorer onto your map. With dot density symbology, you can now choose to auto-adjust dot value to maintain density so it continues to look good at all scales. You can also apply masking using other polygon layers so that dots will only draw in the areas that make sense for your data. The ArcGIS Pro Symbology model supports the symbol capabilities and attribute override capabilities of representations. To migrate representation data, you can now analyze and convert representations to this new model that will then convert it to a unique value renderer, where you can further take advantage of symbol capabilities in ArcGIS Pro. This also includes things like purse feature masking . The Tiled Labels to Annotation tool has been added to ArcGIS Pro. This tool divides a map into tiles and creates annotation for each tile. It is useful when using a map series and converting large numbers of labels to annotation. After running the tool, you can see how the annotation is placed for each page in the map series. You can now export and import metadata, save and upgrade your metadata, and the application now supports the creation of folders to root and mounted drives. Sharing now supports selecting and configuring server object extensions when publishing map image layers to 10.6.1 Enterprise. We've also added support for creating draft definition files for map services and staging and uploading service definition files to federated servers with Python. We've also added support for overriding cache map image layers and allow you to create and select portal and server folders. We've enhanced our feature search capabilities in the Locate pane. If you select a search against layers using this filter, results are returned for all layers added to the map. This eliminates the need to configure individual fields on individual layers, and while that functionality is maintained, this provides a great new option when you want to quickly find all relevant features. You can now author and manage multiple animations within a single map. The exploratory analysis tools now support custom colors. Line of sight has a label for the first obstruction distance, and we've added an interactive slice tool that can push through your content in 3D, that highlights the cutting plane, that can exclude specific layers, and can be used with any 3D scene. You can now publish editable point and 3D object scene layers to ArcGIS Enterprise with an associated feature service. Sharing as web layer permits copying of all data to Enterprise when cached on the server. Enabling editing, sync, and export data gives you full access to the feature service in the scene layer. You can now import Open Scene Graph OSGB textured mesh data with an associated location point. The created integrated mesh scene layer geoprocessing tool permits the loading of OSGB files and folders containing those files. These files, along with a known anchor point, can enable the generation out of an integrated mesh scene layer package, which can be displayed locally or published to ArcGIS Online or Enterprise for viewing in a web scene viewer. New maps now use vector tile base maps instead of raster, resulting in crisper rendering at all scales. Navigating symbology options is now easier. Refine your primary symbology with Vary Symbology by Attribute, Symbol Layer Drawing, and Advanced Symbol Options. We've added some new color schemes specifically designed to allow you to use a spectrum of colors without worrying about skewing the perception of your data. We've introduced stream layers to visualize and analyze real-time data from a stream service. You can symbolize features of a stream layer just as you do with any feature layer. When a stream layer shows moving features such as planes and vehicles, you can use the previous symbology to symbolize them differently. Since stream layers are a type of feature layers, you can label them and set definition queries to show a subset of the stream's features. You can also interact with the layer by selecting features and feed them to a geoprocessing tool to do further analysis. Vector tiles now support pop-ups. For example, here's a pop-up source using a feature layer and an ArcGIS Online organizational account. You can choose to show the pop-up or further configure it. We've added several improvements to drawing vector tiles, including faster load times and support for things like this circle layer, which is used to show population by size and elevation by color. This layer and its blur capability can also be used to do Firefly-style symbology. When working with feature-linked annotation, you may want to annotate selected features. For example, a new subdivision has been added and the annotation feature classes need to be updated. You can now use the Annotate Selected Features tool for each annotation layer in your map, first for address points and then for parcel lines. Once the labels are turned off for the layers, you can see the newly created annotation. In page layout, we have extended the property panes for scale bars. You can now control all scale bar properties, including height. We have added support for dynamic text from a table. This includes the ability to add statistics to your dynamic text, such as mean, count, or sum. We've also added support for edge-based grid labeling, so you can turn on and off labels on a per-edge basis. And we've added the ability to turn on UTM zone clipping for MGRS grids, so zippers are now supported in the dynamic frame grids. ArcGIS Pro 2.2 includes 60 new geoprocessing tools for use in a variety of workflows. The new Calculate Geometry Attributes tool is used to calculate area, length, and coordinate properties into existing attribute fields. A number of tools have also been enhanced with new features, including the JSON to Features and Features to JSON tools, which now support GeoJSON. Select by Location, Select by Attributes, and Add Join have also been enhanced. Your scripts and models using these tools can now directly use input datasets. You can also customize the Pro interface in a new way. You can add geoprocessing tools, including your own custom model and script tools, to the ribbon and quick access toolbar. Batch geoprocessing has also been added, so you can run a selected geoprocessing tool multiple times using multiple datasets as input, or use different parameter settings. You can now communicate exact values by adding data labels to your charts, show part-to-whole relationships using stacked or 100% stacked bars, rotate your chart so that the orientation best represents your data, and highlight important ranges or thresholds by adding guides to your visualizations. Explore seasonality and cyclical patterns with the new chart type, Data Clock. The four-space classification regression tool creates models that can be used to generate predictions using supervised machine learning methods.
Predictions can be made for both categorical and continuous variables. The models can be created using a combination of values from attribute fields, rasters, or calculate on the fly from distance features. You can also predict new features or create a prediction surface. The new time series clustering tool partitions a space-time cube into distinct clusters based on the time series characteristics of each location. The time series in the cube can be clustered so it has similar values across time or similar profiles over time. Environments are a common set of properties that affect all geoprocessing tools. Now you can use the ArcPy Environment Manager class to set environments up once for a section of code, and it will reset to the default values outside the width block. New methods are available for sharing layers through arcpy.mp. This simplifies sharing layers with ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Enterprise. Python environments are now created in your user profile, and you no longer need administrative access to create and install packages. ModelBuilder has added a new diagram tab that allows you to change the spacing between different model elements, its connector type, orientation, layout routing, and text. There are also two new tools. If value is, that allows you to evaluate a given user input against a different set of values using an operator. And parse path, which directly parses the path to a name, path, extension, and workspace, and allows you to format with special characters. New with 3D Analyst is the Sun Shadow Frequency tool. This casts shadows from multi-patch based buildings onto the ground. You can cast shadows for one moment in time or over a stretch of time at a given interval. For example, here are some calculated shadows for one moment in time for some buildings in the city of Rotterdam. You can change the symbology so that only the shadows appear by changing the background color to transparent. And now here's a previously computed example where the shadows were sampled at half-hour intervals over several hours. The red areas are those that are in the shadow more often than the others. New in Business Analyst is a suitability analysis workflow. Here you can rank and score potential locations by weighting site characteristics, competitors, and demographics. We've added the Desired Lines tool to calculate distances in your customer network, added the Standard Geography Trade Areas tool to quickly build administrative boundaries across the world, and included the Foundational Territorial Design tools to build and balance your territories. With Network Analyst, you can create new cost and restriction attributes by using the property pages of a network dataset. For example, you can add a travel cost attribute with travel units in seconds and get its values from a field script. A travel mode that uses this newly created cost attribute can then be added. The network can then be rebuilt to pick up the changes to its costs and travel modes. A service area layer can be created for the updated network dataset. The newly added travel mode can be used to create 360 seconds or a 6-minute drive time polygon. The service area detail method can be used to compute holes in the drive time polygons to show roads that cannot be reached within the specified time. All Euclidean tools in the distance toolset now have a new parameter with the geodesic option to calculate true distance considering the curvature of the Earth. The Contour tool has a new option, Contour Polygon, to create closed polygon bands of value ranges to support different workflows. The Flow Direction tool now supports multiple computation methods. Tools like flow accumulation and flow distance take that flow direction as input and now have a new parameter to specify the type of flow direction. You now have the ability to edit 3D multi-patches with high accuracy by using the 3D and interactive feedback constraints. You also have the ability to edit individual vertex nodes of a multi-patch by either interacting with them via absolute or delta move. You can also apply solid colors to individual faces along with custom textures and the ability to move, rotate, and scale. ArcGIS 2.2 introduces new support for Revit BIM data. You can now work with BIM Revit features as 3D multi-patch layers in a scene, and as input to geoprocessing models and tools. When converted to a Geodatabase, this content is shareable as 3D content web scene layers like any other ArcGIS multi-patch data. When Revit users have accurately positioned their models in real-world space by entering valid survey point and project point information, in ArcGIS Pro, identifying the coordinate system that was adopted by the Revit user ensures that the Revit data is positioned accurately in the map without further intervention. It's not uncommon for BIM models to be drawn without regard for their global position, so we've added an enhanced georeferencing experience for both CAD and BIM at this release. Here you can zoom to the building's address, use the Move to Display button, and then nudge and rotate the building into place. Support for Revit models allows you to add a single feature layer or collections of multiple feature layers. When adding an entire Revit model, the feature layers are additionally grouped by construction discipline in a nested composite layer for easy access. The ability to read Revit models simplifies the process of using, converting, and sharing Revit source data in ArcGIS Pro. You can now follow features when modifying annotation. When combined with the construction tools, follow feature provides an accurate way to position text in your map relative to your data. Once you create a new annotation feature, you can use the annotation tool to enable the follow feature mode. You can follow features such as a curved line by dragging text along its edge, and you can toggle between sides by simply dragging the text above or below the line. When your text is positioned exactly where you want it, simply click Finish to complete the edit. You can now copy lines parallel to each other to support your data creation workflows. In this example, the Copy Parallel tool will be used to create additional parking lot lines. The first step is to select a line feature in the map. Next, choose the destination feature template. Specify the offset distance, and specify the number of repetitions to generate. For sides, the default is both, but you can choose the right or left side. The result are new line features that are parallel to the original feature. You can now split lines by value. There are several methods and options available. You can split by equal parts. You can also split by percentage, such as 50% to split a line in half. For distance, there are three options: single distance, equal distances, and varying distances. For varying distances, you can enter unique values to define the split. A preview in the map will update to show the split locations. You also have the option to distribute the remaining length equally to all the lines. The result are new line features with links based on the values you've provided. We've added a new feature class wizard where you can define the name, alias, type of feature class, and MRZ values. You can add new fields to the class and reorder them however you want. You can also import fields from another class or table. You can pick the spatial reference where you'll pick the coordinate system, X, Y, or Z, as well as the tolerance, resolution, and storage configuration. Reviewer rules are validation methods that assess different aspects of a feature's quality. For this release, the feature-on-feature check has been enhanced to improve equivalency with validation methods currently available in ArcMap. In this example, a rule is created to identify features in the road centerline layer that contains overlapping address values. Finding errors in your data is a single-click operation that does not prevent you from completing other tasks in your project. You're alerted when the validation is completed, and errors are automatically stored in your Geodatabase to expedite corrective workflows and reporting. Spellcheck is now available when editing metadata, and we now support taking features and tile layers offline. You can now publish scene layers that reference registered file-based datasets. You can also publish elevation layers and publish and access metadata for a hosted feature layer and its sublayer metadata. Publishing and accessing metadata for map image and its associated feature layers is also supported. And you can now create mobile map packages with the Publisher extension that can be used in mobile applications like ArcGIS Collector and Explorer for anonymous use or with a named user. The ArcGIS Pro SDK at 2.2 provides new API enhancements, including the areas of editing, with additional support for annotation editing and split operations, content with new support for metadata access and management, and Geodatabase with new methods for sorting tables and calculating table statistics. Also new at 2.2 are additions to Framework, the Utility Network API, and geometry performance improvements. Aviation users can now add a new layout element called Terrain and Obstacle Profile. This element provides a view of the runway, approach surfaces, and terrain, as well as any obstructions that protrude through them that would cause a safety of flight issue. Like other elements, this one is dynamic and is linked to the map frame. When you zoom in and out, you can change the extent and the element will update to reflect those changes that are present in the map frame. You can zoom in and out on the runway or focus on the runway end. This release brings full motion video support to ArcGIS Pro as a part of the Image Analyst extension. It allows you to view, analyze, and manage videos within ArcGIS Pro. The interactive video player supports both archived and live streams. The ability to link videos to maps and scenes allows for viewing and analyzing in a spatial context. You can bookmark videos and mark objects within the video too. A video multiplexer tool to convert MISB compliant formats is also supported. The Raster Item Explorer has been enhanced so you can easily select and filter items from image collections such as image services or mosaic datasets. We now support scatter plot for imagery, which can be used to examine the association between image bands and the relationship to features and materials of interest, and for data within a region of interest. Multispectral imagery is a powerful tool for distinguishing different types of features in the landscape. Spectral profile charts allow you to select areas of interest or features in the image and review the spectral information of all bands in a chart. Temporal Profile is a new type of chart for visually summarizing and exploring your time series imagery. Its different supported plot types let you explore data from variables, bands in imagery, and values from another dimension other than time, such as depth. Hovering over the data point in the chart will display the value at its location in a pop-up, and selecting the data point will lock the display to its time slice. Raster Symbology has been enhanced to support piecewise linear and nonlinear custom histogram stretches using breakpoints for each displayed band. The new interactive histogram stretch option allows you to easily spot and clip out outliers for a more effective contrast stretch and better looking results. Stereo mapping has been extended to support high-resolution ADS imagery. Editors can now make use of the new surface mapping feature for a better data collection experience. This release also introduces terrain following cursor support. The new automatic fiducial computation has improved the ortho mapping workflow for processing scanned images. You can define a fiducial template from one of the images, and the compute tool will calculate fiducials and refine the interior orientation for all the images before you perform an adjustment and generate an ortho mosaic. The Ortho Mapping Suite can now leverage ortho mapping services of the Active Portal to do distributed processing and produce web image layer results, which can be readily shared and used within the organization. The high-level image classification tools in Wizard now support distributed processing user raster analysis services of the Active Portal to produce web image layer results, which can be readily shared and used within the organization.